Yes, good evening class. So what did we discuss in the previous class? We discussed about some key terms. We did a syllabus mapping and we discussed about some key terms. Right. We said that what is ethics? We said that ethics is a set of moral principles. Second ARC says that ethics is a set of moral principles. Ethics is also a branch of moral philosophy, isn't it? We also discussed about dharma or dharma as we see it. Dharma in the Indian context is not the translation of religion of the West. Rather, dharma means righteousness or duty. As you said, duties can be of this dharma can be of several types. One is sadharan dharma, isn't it? Sadharan dharma is the kind of duties that are applicable to all of us, and then there is swadharma, that is the duties that arise because of one's position. So you should be sitting in the class with full attention because that is your Vidyarthi Dharma, isn't it? But we cannot say the same about the staff here, isn't it? So then we also discussed in the last class, we were discussing about dilemma. We said that dilemma is a state of confusion where an individual has to make a choice and both choices are equally lucrative for him. And therefore, there is no element of a morality in it, such as choosing between two phones, right? Choosing between two brands, sometimes choosing between an arranged marriage and a love marriage, right? There is no moral ethical angle, though you may want to import some of it while making a decision. And in this, an ethical dilemma can be a dilemma can be resolved by doing a cost benefit analysis, by doing a SWOT analysis, right? By writing down the pros and cons of each and then making a rational decision, which is why e-commerce companies give you comparison tables, isn't it? So that you can compare the features and sort out your dilemma. Then there is something which is known as ethical dilemma, which we studied in the last class. An ethical dilemma is one, it is trickier than dilemma. Why is it trickier than dilemma? Yes, because no matter what choice you make, at least one moral principle will be violated. So therefore, there is an element of inherent guilt when there is a moral dilemma, which means once whatever choice you have made, you are likely to feel guilty even with that choice. So in ethical dilemma is often said to be choosing between two wrongs, and which is what? The lesser evil, as per guided by our own sense of morality, our own sense of conscience, isn't it? So we discussed about several dilemmas of several people. Then we discussed about ethics, and we said that what it means to be ethical. Said that ethical means, so ethics is derived from the Greek word ethikos or ethos, which means habit or custom, isn't it? And we said that to be ethical means different things to different people. To be ethical means different things to different people. Let me ask you a simple question. So I was reading some debate some student had said me. So in this debate, what had happened is there was a certain teacher, he made a video, and because it is concerning the UPSC universe, so I'm not sure if you're aware or not, and I'm not fully aware of the case, but there was a question raised. So this teacher said that a student called me and he said that, sir, I'm thankful to you for for the book that you have written. I was able to use that book and I benefited from in the mains and I got selected. So the teacher was happy and then he requested the student, the selected candidate, officer select, that why don't you write a review about it? And the teacher was astonished. In the teacher's video, the teacher is astonished saying that the student asked me that what is in for me? What will I get if I write a good review for you? And it will lead to an increase in book sales, but what will be my benefit in this? So he was a little disappointed and he said that this is the degrading ethics in civil services, officer selects. Now, what is your position on it? Was the student right or was the student in wrong? How many of you think he was right? Let's have a discussion. Ethics is a thinking paper. It's okay if you're wrong. I'm not judging you in any way. Just like I expect you not to judge me. Right? That has to be mutual. What are the concerns here? So do you see, depending on your position, है ना, depending on your position, you may have a certain viewpoint. What? So this student sent me a conversation somewhere. I'm not sure what is the website or the page, but he sent me a PDF with all the comments written, where a lot of people were supporting that, thanking him was his duty, a moral duty, है ना? But promoting his book is not his duty, and there is no problem if he is asking for a certain amount of money for promoting the book, right? So this was the discourse that was going in civil services aspirants. What is the problem here? The problem, so this is a quid pro quo system. But the problem here is that if it was a JEE or NEET entrance examination, or even a CAT entrance examination, where aspirants are trained to go for the best, aspirants are trained to get the highest salary, aspirants are trained, right? In CAT, the better package you get, the better candidate you are. If you are getting selected in the top ABC schools and the higher package, you are more celebrated in the society. Here, what is the problem here? The ethical concern here is that the candidate here is selected for civil services, which inherently has an element of public service in it. And if there is an element of public service, then a quid pro quo approach may not be suitable in such a condition. So that is one ethical concern here. That if there is an opportunity for quid pro quo, and if this happens at the initial stage, then it is a red flag overall, isn't it? If it was you were a CAT topper and you're doing it, there is no ethical moral, but here it comes in a moral gray zone. Why? Because you're supposed to be part of civil service. You will be custodian of A, public trust, and B, public funds, in which if this approach, quid pro quo approach, follows, if I release the fund for the construction of the bridge, what will I get? Then there's a problem. In fact, this is the problem, right? A lot of people, this is the problem. So that is with respect to ethics and morality. The second aspect is that don't do this. Why? From practical aspect, because your reputation will precede you. You are going to be part of a very small body, hardly few thousand officers. Before you enter service, your collector will know you. कि अच्छा ये वो बच्चा है. Right? Your collector will know you that this person has done something like this. In fact, just 3 years back, I had posted a message about a student who cleared the exam in his 7th or 9th attempt. So I just posted a small story about him, and it appeared on my Facebook feed, and I reshared it. Then I got a message from the person whose story I had shared. Now he was a senior official. It had been a few years. So I opened the message with some skepticism that he's saying that, sir, now that I'm an officer, this looks very childish, because that time I was in need of help. But he said something very simple. He said, no, sir, actually, thank you. I remember it. My district collector shared the story with me. So I was a little perturbed that why the district collector would share. ये तो हटाने के लिए बोला होगा. ये सब हटाओ, अब तुम officer हो गए हो. I said, no, sir. Then I checked. I said, who's your district collector? And then before curiosity, I clicked on the link and went to my own Facebook page. Then I saw that it was Mitali Sethi who was a district collector. She had written that he's a very good officer. And she was a first batch student. So what I mean to say is that your reputation will precede you. So the practical aspect of why no, you should not do anything like this, because more than anything, your actions, what will be there in civil service? An officer's image and reputation. All right. Anyway, so we also did sources of ethics. We said that families, family, educational institutions, society, law, constitution, political philosophy, revolutions, workplace, marketplace. We also discussed briefly about what is the function of ethics. We said that ethics, remember, ethics is about other people. If you are just one individual living in the universe, you do not need ethics. When do we need ethics? When there is another person and we have to make space for the other person. So ethics is always about others. One of the ways you will ease your process of decision making is by seeing things from the viewpoint of other people. Always. This is always going to be the case. This is something that you will also write in your case studies. How will you resolve the ethical dilemma? Just by seeing the case from the perspective of other people, like the person who has come with a faryad in front of you. All right. We also said that ethics it helps live moral life. Why? Because it creates a sense of guilt when we do not live a good moral life. It provides a moral compass. It provides a moral map. It tells us नैतिकता के रास्ते से ऐसे चलो, avoid these pitfalls, है ना? It also checks against individual evil actions, right? A lot of times people do not do bad things. Why? Because they want to be ethical, at least in their own eyes. And it promotes care in the society. It promotes care and compassion in the society. If care and compassion is there in the society, then civilizational. Therefore, it what he said, that it it sustains humanity and civilization. Civilization cannot exist. Sabhyata, as we know it, cannot exist if we are not caring and compassionate for each other. It is civilization which prevents this world from becoming a dog-eat-dog world. Isn't it? Some level of civilization is there, which is why we are not attacking and eating each other. Isn't it? We also said that ethics helps us see things from the viewpoint of others, and it helps us in pinpointing disagreement on common issues. As in the previous question or case, some of us may have disagreed on the position. Some people felt that the student should ask for a quid pro quo. Some people felt that he should not ask for a quid pro quo. He has been a genuine beneficiary, and as a celebrity, if he wants to endorse a product, he could do it without a charge because it was a genuine review. Isn't it? So therefore, it helps us see the viewpoint of others. We also said that it is a part of Indian ethos. It is in the Sarva Dharma Sambhava of Sanatan Dharma. है ना? Sarva Dharma Sambhava of Sanatan Dharma. It is in the Anekantvad of Jainism, isn't it? Which says that there are many realities, and as ordinary persons, we can only know one aspect, isn't it? It makes individuals and organizations more accountable, isn't it? It helps in bringing progressive laws, rules, legislations, isn't it? It helps in, so every day before the class, online students, I'll have just a recap of what we have studied, so that those who are in a rush and not getting time to revise, I'm trying to impinge on your minds a brief summary of what we have done, especially for those who are writing the mains examination this year. Ethics also helps in reflecting values of society. Now there is something which I think I did not discuss. There are limitations of ethics. What ethics cannot do. If ethics can do everything, then there's no problem, but there are some things. One is that ethics does not provide objective answers. As we'll see when we study dimensions of ethics, it does not provide objective answers or one answer. It's not easy. The train TT versus the lady, example 0. The train TT versus the lady. Is there one answer? No, depending on what ethical principle. If you apply compassion as the first principle of humanity, then what should the TT do? Allow the lady sit in the train. But if you follow the principle of doing one's duty, then what should the TT do? Deboard the lady. As civil servants, our final conclusion for this case study is do what is as per law. Second, minimize the negative unintended consequences of law. If there is a coal mining to be done so that a thermal power plant can be set up somewhere in central India so that Delhi can get its power supply, you know that this has to be done because Delhi will need its electricity. What is the unintended negative consequence of this project? The first will be deforestation, ecological damage, and then the displacement of tribal population. And the problem with tribal population is that they feel disenfranchised. Why is that? That is, among other reasons, there is the failure of our national politics also. That in national politics, if you see two towering figures, Ambedkar and Gandhi, they took up the cause of the Dalits, but both of them have shown little sympathy to the tribal cause. They have shown little sympathy. You can write this also if you get a question, that there is little sympathy for the tribal cause. Arundhati Roy in her book, The Saint and the Doctor, she mentions that there is very little sympathy in the writings of both Gandhi and Ambedkar for the tribal cause, which is why in the freedom struggle, the tribal cause was largely marginalized, which is why in post-independence, you never had a national level tribal leader. Did you have a national level Dalit leader? Yes, Jagjeevan Ram, several. Mayawati, once upon a time, touted to be the Prime Minister of India. India would get her first Dalit Prime Minister. That was the talk. So among the Dalit communities, that was there, but among the tribal communities, we do not have a national towering figure after independence. Anyway, so therefore Delhi will have its electricity supply, But that displacement, ecological damage, will it happen? It will happen. Then as civil servant, what should you do? Stop all the projects? No, you have to minimize the unintended negative consequences of the project of the law that you are following, isn't it? Ethics does not provide one, it may provide many answers. Therefore, it may create further confusion. Further confusion may be created because of ethics. Then ethics may create conflict between what? Idealism and realism. It may create conflict between idealism and realism, isn't it? S. Jayasankar, when he was asked that why India is buying oil from Russia when it clearly does not support war in any form, and such commercial arrangements with Russia will empower Russia to further the cause of the war. Not that India was siding with any parties, but it was generally opposed to war on any side. And this money will fund the war between Russia and Ukraine on either side. To this, S. Jayasankar said that national interest is my first priority. And then he also commented that Europe imports much more oil and gas in a day than India does in a month. Isn't it? So therefore, ethics sometimes causes conflict between idealism and realism. Ethics also has this limitation that it changes. Answers change on the basis of sthan, kal and patra. What is the context? Lying is bad for ordinary persons, but lying for a spy is a profession. Lying about one's identity completely. Isn't it? एक बार इसको रख लें, साइलेंट कर लें, उधर रख लें. All right. Yes. Then, and also ethics has one more problem, that is ethics. If you be ethical, does world always reward good and punish the bad? What do you see around yourself? Does it always reward good and punish the bad? It does not happen. So sometimes being ethical creates disillusionment. Being ethical creates disillusionment when evil thrives and good people are, yes, when good is punished. Online students, turn on your cameras, it will be wonderful. I'll be able to see some of you and I'll remember you when I see you in the interview. Yes. What is the Indian response to this? That how do we, then in India, how do we uphold this? How do we make people do good deeds? If the problem is that we often see the good people being punished and evil people. So religion gives an answer in this matter. Religion, all religions. So for example, in Abrahamic religions, there is the judgment day. So you see somebody doing bad deeds and thriving. When will he be punished? On the judgment day, Qayamat ka din, when the dead will be resurrected. We, however, Hinduism does not believe in that. Hinduism believes in transmigration of soul. All the, and the law of karma. So when will law of karma punish him? If not in this birth, then in next birth. That is how some consolation is there. Then if these are the limitations, should we study ethics? So we should study ethics for so many reasons, what ethics helps us, but also, is it possible to be ethical without studying ethics? Yes. Why? Because we see in day-to-day basis, we see that people without a formal education of ethics behaving in a very morally upright manner. But then also we should study ethics. Why? है ना, write down a line. We should study ethics, है ना, because just like one can speak English, we should study ethics because just like one can speak English without knowing the rules of grammar, one can speak English without knowing rules of grammar, है ना. Similarly, one can be moral, one can be morally upright. Similarly, one can be morally upright despite, let me just finish, I'll repeat it, ठीक है. One can be morally upright, है ना. What did I say? Yes, one can speak English without knowing the rules of grammar. Similarly, one can be morally upright without studying ethics. But when there is a confusion or doubt, study of ethics can help. Let us take a minute to write an answer. Question number 24, 2013 का क्वेश्चन है, और 2020. Question number 24, take 2013 question is there. Let us just discuss the answer format. What does the question say? Some people feel. Question number 24 in your handout. Write down the answer, everyone, in one page. Let us just. हमेशा ये बोला बोर्ड रखिए. Write down the answer in one page. Question number 24. Everybody has the handout? Need to take help. I just told you to bring your handout. This PYQ we have to finish now. I'll dictate the question. Some people feel that values keep changing with time. While some people feel that values keep changing with time, while others strongly believe there are certain universal and eternal human values. While others believe there are certain universal and eternal human values. Give your perception with due justification. Just लिखो बस, जो समझ में आता है लिखो. Online students also can try by writing. All right, let us take how we will analyze this question. So this question is saying that some people say that values change with time, and some people argue that values remain constant. है ना? So there are certain universal and eternal human values. What is your perception and what is your justification? So introduction, how can you begin? There are several ways of beginning this introduction. The basic one is you can define what are values. We have not done values per se, but until we reach the chapter values, or even otherwise, unless a difference is asked between morals and values, for all practical purposes, morals, values, ethics, principles, they will mean nearly the same things. So don't say that, sir, it is about values, not about morality. All right, this will broadly mean the same thing unless the difference is asked. All right. Now you can simply define values or morals, or you can begin by giving a quote. Any quote that comes to your mind. You can quote from the Buddhist philosophy also, or in the West you have Heraclitus, where says that the only thing permanent is change. You can give Heraclitus quote, and or it is said that so only thing permanent is change. You can begin with a quote. Now comes the main question. In this main question, I have seen that we have discussed between moral absolutism and moral relativism. Now this concept has been taught to you, but the question is asked on the basis of that. It is a debate between moral relativism and moral absolutism only. But you did not mention it as the table head, which I saw some students making a table. In the main body, you can simply make a table. You can make this table that values keep changing and values remain constant. You can make this table, but do not label the table as moral absolutism and moral relativism. You can write this in the second line. You can say view of moral relativist, and this is the view of moral absolutist. You can say this. First is, what do these people say? The values keep changing, according to them, and these people say values remain constant. Why do they say this? Why do some people believe that values keep changing? Yes, very good. So why focus always on what and why, and you are sorted out? Because society is continuously under change, flux, isn't it? They believe that it is also good. Why it is good? Because it leads to social reforms. Social reform and social progress. All right, it leads to social reform and social progress. Why the people who believe values remain constant? Why do they want it, or what is the pros of values remaining constant? Yes, they provide civilizational and societal continuity. It is necessary. Why? It is necessary for civilizational and societal continuity. If too rapidly values will change, then social disruption will happen. Then it gives the basis, or it forms the basis of rule of law, constitution, state, and religion. Religion does not change at all, isn't it? You can write why they are saying it, or what is the benefit of it. Why constitution? Because constitution is the supreme law. Constitution, but then there also you can argue that constitution, is it absolute or is it relative? Then constitution, in one sense, it is absolute because it has been framed by the Constituent Assembly, but in one sense it is relative because there is a tool of amendment. So you can write in your position, what is the question? What is the question? Says give your perception, then that is your final position. What will be your final position? Yes. So you say some values are universal. What are some universal values? Name some universal values. Compassion, care, humanity. Yes, care, love, humanity. Integrity को administrative ethics के लिए छोड़ो, because there you will have a dearth of this. The don't begin integrity in this part only. In administrative ethics you will only write integrity. इसलिए यहाँ मत import, don't import it here. Some values are universal and some values keep changing. Your position is that both are important. This is your final position. Why this is important? You can write this is important for universal human rights, isn't it? Is this clear? Some values keep on changing. You can write about how sati was illegal, was a practice in society once, and now it is illegal. At some point of time in history, for large parts of medieval history and till large parts of modern history, what was our conception about women? Woman is the property of whom? Of the father and the brother before marriage, and she belongs to the husband after marriage. Right? So that is the ownership theory of women. That was largely accepted, which is why if a harm came to a woman and when she is unmarried, her father or male members of the family would be compensated by the king in medieval times. Whatever I'm saying, put it inside your head, use it in your essay the minute you get an opportunity. So listen to things very carefully. And if in medieval times, if a married woman was hurt or any damage came to her, the king would compensate whom? The husband, isn't it? Because it was believed that they are the owners, and that is why in modern times, however, this complete thought is under revision. Today we are talking about what? Marital rape, isn't it? And India is one of the countries that still has not criminalized marital rape. They are perpetuating the ownership, medieval thought of women being the property of the men. However, in our case also several other things are there. So for example, you can quote this, the Navtej Singh Johar case, all right, versus the Union of India that decriminalized homosexuality. Homosexuality, which was once a criminal offense, was decriminalized, isn't it? Then Joseph Shine case of 2018, right, struck down section 497 of the IPC, which criminalized adultery, isn't it? So therefore values keep some changing with, as well as values, some values are needed to be constant also, right? We can end this. You can give other examples also. N number of examples are there. Before the 1990s, what was the problem with the Indian state? Deeply entrenched values of state socialism, thereby creating a bureaucratic state, right? For everything you need a permission from the state. The culture was you can't do anything unless you have a permission. Which is known as the license quota Raj. Post liberalization, the philosophy is you can do anything. Only things unless disallowed by a license. So you can do anything unless you are disallowed by a license. Earlier you can't do anything unless you have even if you start making incense sticks, agarbatti banane ke liye bhi, in a small hut you are making an agarbatti, inspector would come, kiska license dikhao, kahan hai aapke paas? Right? So we are more so, this has happened after. So our values are also changing from state socialism to entrepreneurial spirit is being encouraged today by both Shark Tank in popular culture as well as Startup India as a government initiative. Right? Those values are changing or not? So these values are confusing. And at the same time, rule of law, constitutionalism, constitutional morality, right to life, liberty, etc. These are universal values that have to be deeply entrenched in society. Right? We can write this answer like this. If you see question number 2, which was given yesterday, it is the same question. Question with 2, that is 2024 का question जो है वो भी same है. We were also doing some ethical concerns with respect to one function of ethics is to solve techno-economic problems. So we discussed briefly ethics and edtech. We discussed some of the challenges with edtech. primarily good things such as democratization of education, है ना, and the inherent limitations or inherent ethical gray concerns, that is the focus on everything except education and technology in the Indian context. There has been a focus only on sales instead of both education as well as technology. No focus, only focus on sales and top line. That is the problem. Second problem is large sales team instead of educators in an education company. That is again a concern. Then apart from that, the problem of their free courses being better than the paid courses. So therefore, the free courses are used to lure students into low quality paid courses. Right? Then ethical concerns with respect to data collection. Right? They consume, there is no clarity about the data collected and how it will be exploited through the life cycle of the student, isn't it? So all these things we discussed. Another challenge, you have to know ethics and the ethical concerns with driverless cars. Now, how many of you feel in India we can have driverless cars? Raise your hands, very optimistic. In some time, why do you believe in that future, in driverless cars? How will it not hit other people? Do you think we will achieve that level of precision? He's blaming the cows. Choose your words carefully. The people who believe in driverless cars, you understand this concept once for all. Why do people believe in driverless cars? So this is your car. They believe that driverless cars are safer than humans. For that matter, Delhi Metro, few years back, it announced that there will no longer be any drivers in its metro because it is not needed in the first place. The Delhi Metro felt that drivers sometimes do not report on time, sometimes they are not punctual, they do not have machine-like discipline, and therefore they need to be replaced by what? Machines. So they announced that they were a little skeptical because imagine people, thousands of people traveling in Delhi Metro and knowing that is train mein driver nahi hai. So initially what did the Delhi Metro do? They installed dummies, humanoid shapes in the driver's seat, because if somebody created a panic that train mein driver nahi hai, then there will be a problem. Almost a decade ago. Okay, but now everybody is accustomed that way. Right, everybody is not going to have a problem, which is why the glass is really dark, so you cannot see who's inside. But initial days, it was tough convincing people that there's no problem. You are safer if there is no driver. Why? Drivers have a mood of their own. They are human beings, just like all human beings. Second, drivers may feel drowsy. Sometimes they may be drunk because they are humans. And when you are driving, let us say on road, right? Imagine this is a road, and this is your car. All right. How do you communicate with other cars? Yes, so you use some tools. Women candidates, how do you use it? Use indicators. And we have to turn left, you give left indicator. When you turn right, you give a right indicator. And you blow a horn, right? When you press the brake, the red light blinks. So the person who's behind you, telling you, he knows that you have pressed a brake. These are the ways how people communicate. So at best, you can communicate with whom? Just these 3 plus 3 plus 2, 8 cars at best. This car, can you communicate with? This car, can you communicate with? Neither can they communicate. But these cars, all these 3 plus 3 plus 2 cars, they can communicate with this car. Right? Rear view mirror say the best chances. So first understand the concept of driverless cars. People who argue for driverless cars feel that this creates a huge problem, because if there is a traffic jam ahead, then there is no way the person at the beginning of the traffic jam can confirm to somebody at the later end that there is a jam, you change your route. Of course, now we are doing it through Google Maps. It reroutes you through a remote village, and suddenly the village is surprised why so many cars are suddenly coming to our village. Then somebody just Google ke through ye log aaye hain aur ye rasta band hai. Right? This will sometimes happen. Many times it is happening in India. हाँ हाँ पटना या कहीं भी बाकी शहरों में भी. Now, proponents of driverless cars feel that this is a simple problem to solve. Why? because they feel that if there is no driver, this problem of accidents will happen, because if there is any communication failure between this car versus the 8 cars that are around it, an accident can happen. One, give a left indicator and turn right. Accident has happened, and they will make a video and blame the man or the woman. That left indicator, right turn, right indicator, left turn, right? All these things will happen. But what if all the cars are being driven by a single machine? Imagine one artificial intelligent driver driving all the 6, 8, 10, 100,000 millions of cars. What is the benefit of that driverless car? Artificial, because any vehicle which is somewhere at the end of the destination can send a signal to this that you change your route. Second, they also see it as not just end of course. When you talk of driverless cars, it is felt that humans are too dangerous to give them a car. Means once you have driverless cars and machines driving, they won't make a mistake, but humans will make a mistake. They will drive by all the rules, but humans will take a left turn, will try to bypass a red signal, which is when accidents will happen, because the driverless cars will drive as per the rules. They are machines, but humans, they are not machines. You'll always find a reason to violate a rule or best practice, isn't it? Now, second is they don't just see that as a safety issue, they also see it as a huge solution to traffic problem. Why? Because think we are all sitting we are all bunch of people are there, and the cars are there, and there's a red signal. Now, when the red signal turns green, the first vehicle moves at least 50 feet before the second person will steer his vehicle. Then when the second vehicle has moved 50 feet, then the third person will start moving his vehicle. So therefore, a wave will be created. As in, there is a delay between when the traffic has gotten green versus when the people will start driving. But imagine when there is machine driving and all the cars are being driven by the same algorithm or the same Google cars in future, if you may. Or ChatGPT cars. One software which is installed in every car in there. So therefore, they will know that the car which is in ahead of me is at a 40 km/h constant speed, so they will move at the same time. More than that, do you think you will not need signals in the first place? Because vehicles will zoom past like this, right, without hitting each other, because they can fairly predict. Of course, you will always have this problem that yaar 1 second ki gap se nikal gayi, but then that machine knows that safe hai. You can have a 5-second, people can set a 5-second rule that don't let anyone come within 5 seconds. It's not like मैं ऐसे गया और झट से कोई ऐसे गया, है ना? You will have those fears as well, right? So therefore, it is also the end to traffic. But the driverless cars, ethical concerns, है ना? So Yuval Harari argues that driverless cars are the future on the basis of this. He also argues that in artificial intelligence will be powering driverless cars. Also, he says the same about medicine. It is likely to be disrupted by AI. Why? Because you see a doctor, he acquires all the skill sets, then he grows old. Then what does he do? He transfers his knowledge to the next generation by writing books, by taking classes, or through practice. And then one fine day, the doctor dies. A neurosurgeon, 80 years, 85 years old, with wealth of so much knowledge, he simply passes away. But what if it was an artificial intelligent machine? With that kind of knowledge and data, it would grow intelligent every day. And if all those machines were interlinked across the world, then so much of information will make that one single machine super intelligent. It will learn as much in 1 year as a neurosurgeon may learn in 70, 80 years of his life. Because there is just one doctor which knows all the cases, isn't it? It is getting that level of data, and you don't have to worry about it dying. All its knowledge can be transported or concurrently shared with several other smaller artificial intelligence machine doctors. So that knowledge will never be lost. You must have heard of some doctors who will a child specialist. What is his specialty? He sees a child and tells the disease without even touching or doing anything. बच्चे को देखकर वो क्योर कर देते हैं. ऐसे doctors होते हैं because of their experience. They will be like 75 years old. They will give one medicine, the child will be cured. And you can keep taking the child 10 places and no medicine will work. Why? It is their experience. But then do you see what ramifications of an artificial intelligent doctor can be? So we will not need doctors. So artificial intelligence, what is it going to do? It is going to do easy tasks. It will finish off those tasks. And that more difficult task will become the new easy tasks. Isn't it? So earlier, you will see that suddenly there is a revolution in EdTech. What is the reason happening? So many teachers coming up and teaching a lot of things. Have they read so many books? No, they have not. What have they done? ChatGPT. So quickly you have 3 pages of very good examples without the teacher having read any of the books. And suddenly 3 pages of very good PDF is being given to you. Why? Because it can come from ChatGPT and they'll say, I have given you 250 examples, all extracted from ChatGPT, Perplexity, or whatever you may call it, isn't it? Do you see now that which should otherwise take a teacher at least 10 years of reading and experience and note making, that can be done very easily. So my job is also gone eventually, but we'll beat AI, I'm sure. Right? So this is how things are changing. Now, if you are able to relate with what I'm saying, you will suddenly find a lot of things suddenly becoming relevant. कि ऐसा हो क्यों रहा है? कि भाई, with somebody much less experience is having 500 examples. If you ask him, you give me 8,000 examples, he will give you 8,000 examples. Right? Of course, it will not be as equally applicable. The applicability will be challenging. All right. Now, in driverless cars, the ethical concern is, one is what you have known. Primarily, you have to understand there is something known as the classical trolley problem. Everybody knows the trolley problem. You should know, but briefly I'll tell you, this trolley problem is from the days of coal mining. Coal mining, they used to, वो देखा होगा कि एक trolley होती है and it is going, sometime in adventure rides you will have something like this. But there, so trolley problem arose from there. It simply says that if this is a vehicle, all right, and it's moving on a road, and then there is a, there are some children crossing the road. And to save these children, what happens is, this driver sees there's a fat man or an old man. Now either he can hit these children or he can move the vehicle and hit this man to save the life. है ना? So in trolley problem, classical trolley problem, a driver has to make a choice, है ना? Either to save the life of few children and sacrifice the life of an old man. In such case of accidents, what happens? The human is held responsible. Right? Why? Why is he held responsible? When can you give punishment to someone for his action? Very good, very close, intentional. But second most in philosophy, we called it the concept of free will. Right? Free will. Free will is a concept in philosophy, so, and more so moral philosophy, where one can be held culpable for a crime only when culpability is linked to his free will. You can be held culpable for crime only if you did it without duress or external pressure. So if I put a gun to his head and say, slap your neighbor, then what happens? If he slaps it and later this neighbor files a complaint, he will get an alibi that, or an excuse that I was not exercising free will. This is also the argument when you will see sometimes the courts will rule compassionately and leniently against criminals when they will have committed a crime of theft or a dacoity. And when presented before the judge, they say, yes, I have committed crime and dacoity, but it was to feed my family. You will see compassionate treatment will be given in law. Why? Because was he exercising free will? He did not have a choice. He was forced to commit that crime. If it was not a gun on his head, it was the social and economic circumstances which forced him to commit a certain crime. So one is that when we have a human dealing with a trolley problem, you can find him culpable because the human exercises free will. In driverless cars, what happens? Who makes this decision? The decision in trolley problem, why we are having like this? Okay. In the trolley problem, the decision will be made by, either made by programmers or the car owner. In EV or autonomous vehicle, as it is often said, driverless cars are also autonomous vehicles. In AV settings, what do I mean? There are only two choices, programmers or algorithm, which means when you buy the car, they will ask you this ethical question. What ethical question? That in case there are young children or pedestrians on the road and you are driving fast and I cannot avoid the collision, would you save A, yourself, or B, the pedestrians? How many of you will save yourself? Raise your hands. Very good. Why some of you will save others? Anybody who wants to save others? So in your argument, when you save yourself, you say survival is the first law of existence. Survival is the first law of existence. You can go ahead and say this. So the decision will be in algorithms and car owners. So here some ethical concerns are there. One is, the ethical concern is that when faced with imminent collision, means hona hi hai. When there is, the collision is imminent, who should car save? Wonder car. Pehla to this is the ethical concern. In case of an imminent collision, who should the car save? The owner or the pedestrian? The second question that is raised is, should it save? Should it prioritize saving more lives? है ना कि रोड पर 3 लोग हैं, रोड पर एक आदमी है, and then you are the owner. Who will it save? It will give the benefit to owner. I will save you. But then you are driving in a driverless car and there are 2 people on the road and you are just one. Then the car says goodbye. Big problem. Right? So prioritize saving more lives. That is also one school of ethics will say. Or third is, it should not make the decision. What you should do, you should follow traffic rules. Which means that if it was a red signal, then you should have stopped. If there was a green signal, there should have not been any pedestrians. I am not wrong, so I will not save the pedestrian. You just follow by the rules. Another ethical concern is that what should it do? Right? That you should follow traffic rules. These are some concerns. What else apart from this? Yes. So it can prioritize more lives. It can prioritize. So those are what will be the. So these are the challenges before the driverless car. And from these challenges, what there'll be concerns. What concerns could be there? One concern is that it puts decisions about human life. About human life in whose hands? Yes, in the hand of machines. Big concern. Concern that is raised by this. Another concern is that AVs may develop biases and may discriminate. On what basis? Yes, gender. A woman dying, a woman's life is less important than a man's life. A black man's life is less important than white man's life. Economic status also. Right? Apart from that, ethics can also help. What else can ethics do? What role can ethics play? Ethics can help. So, as of now, Yuval Harari, you've heard of this person? Dominant thinker of our times. 21 ideas for 21st century. He says, what does he say about driverless cars? He says that solving the ethical concerns of AVs solving the ethical concerns of AVs, autonomous vehicles, is not an engineering challenge. Solving the ethical concerns of AV is not an engineering challenge, but a philosophical one. Therefore, it is not ingenious. But thinkers and philosophers, who must sit together and find a solution. How will ethics help? Ethics will help in car maker making informed choice. What informed choice? कि ये वाली गाड़ी लूंगा तो ये लफड़े होंगे. If I get this car, then this will be the problem I'm going to have. Second is that he will have to, है ना? Ethics can help in fighting against deeply ingrained machine bias. Machine bias कुछ time के बाद हो जाएगा. Anything can be there. It may, for example, discover that women are bad drivers. Now the machine will draw an assumption. If it gets that bias, then it will draw an assumption that it must be the woman's fault. Inherent bias, because the bias, see, the problem with machines is that they are fed on data, and what data is provided to them. Right now, the big challenge with AI is what? That it is being fed all white data, right? So therefore, it will have its own learning, right? And it will have the same biases which white people have, isn't it? If you take a look at National Crime Records Bureau, you will realize that the largest number of criminals are people from vulnerable groups, castes and communities, and people from poor economic background. A simplistic AI assessment of this data will force the AI to have this bias that the poor and people from certain castes and communities are likely to be criminals in nature. It will not be able to appreciate a humanitarian approach to the statistics that people from vulnerable groups, they lack economic might and agency to make choices. Therefore, they are forced to commit crimes. This may not be fully appreciated by AI, but is appreciated by whom? By humans, isn't it? Ethics will also help. It may also help in framing how autonomous vehicles may behave in critical situations. It may help in framing how AVs will behave in critical situations. Or it may help in drafting AV ethics. Driverless car ethics भी आ जाएगा. Ethics will also help highlight the shared responsibility. It will also help in highlighting what? Shared responsibility. Whose shared responsibility? The car owner. Sometimes the pedestrian. As well as the car manufacturers. Shared responsibility for pedestrian को हटा ही दो, लेकिन shared responsibility car owner and the car manufacturer and the programmer. How otherwise will you fix that liability in an accident? Otherwise, people will get scot-free, isn't it? That there was no mistake by me, isn't it? So therefore, it will help in So Sherry Turkle, you must have heard some time back that in the US, a 14-year-old child committed suicide because they wanted to prove love to an AI chatbot? Have some of you started talking to these chatbots? Anyone? Huh? Somebody saying, yes, sir, it's a deep experience. So this happened in the US. Sherry Turkle is an MIT American sociologist. All right. So there is a quote by it that when we outsource, Sherry Turkle says that when we outsource our moral decisions, Sherry Turkle, American sociologist, says that when we outsource, yes, good. When we outsource our moral decisions to the machine, we risk losing the very process. We risk losing the very process that makes us human. We risk losing the very process that makes us human. Moral decisions should be made by whom? And increasingly with driverless cars, what will happen? This will be outsourced to whom? The machines, isn't it? We don't know. Yuval Harari says that philosophers will have to decide that. A judge sitting in a court cannot decide that. That is a problem of philosophy first, then in law. It is a question first in philosophy, then in law. You can write, if you get a question in AI, you can write a conclusion that the classical trolley problem is a problem first in philosophy, then in law. Judge के पास तो बाद में आएगा, पहले philosophy में it has to be solved, right? The world that you have inherited is built upon constitutional governance and political structures and administrative structures. But these structures have come in shape, whether you have a prime minister, a legislature, executive, judiciary, how have they come to be? Because someone thought about it first. So first some philosopher thought about this is how societies should be administered. This is how there has to be prevention of concentration of powers in a king. So let us break the lawmaker separately as a legislature. Let us make the executive controlled by the legislature as separate, and let us make a judiciary independent of both of them, right? Montesquieu would first think of it, called the doctrine of separation of powers. So first somebody thinks about it, then it becomes actualized. So people are still figuring out what will be the solution. Ethics. In ethics, we will study separate approaches. So we will have more clarity on, for example, in this also. Let us take just very briefly. So there was a study a Harvard study was conducted where people were asked that if they were to, where Harvard study was conducted where people were asked if they were to choose a vehicle and put this in the settings, whose life would they save? The passengers or the pedestrians? Everybody said they would choose to save the pedestrian's life. But when they were actually asked to make that choice in a driverless car, they chose saving the life of the passenger instead. So we do not have formalized, I'm not aware of any places where this has, and remember once this is solved, it will be copied by every nation. Okay, because, so that is how things work, right? Then we have, I'm not aware of it, but since you asked, I'll see if somebody has brought ethically solve this question. Then another techno-economic problem is gig economy. What are some ethical concerns in gig economy? First is, what is gig economy? One thing that you must develop the ability to is to very clearly define a term. It is the beginning. If you are able to define a term, you have won half the race of mains answer writing. What would you say, what is gig economy? Very good. So how do you define something? One is first is for defining something you need three things: noun, adjective and verb. Very good. I'll make it simple for some of you. Noun will say what it is. Okay, for example, gig economy is a system. It is a practice. It is what it is. It is an animal, it is a thing, it is a place. So that is what I mean by noun, that what it is in the first place. Then there's an adjective. It is about its nature, that what is the nature of this. And verb, what does it do? है ना, ये करता क्या है? Or what happens in this? You will need three things to define any term. So gig economy refers to what? It refers to technology driven, what I call it. Again, it's not an old, I have just coined it while speaking to you. So what I can think of right now is, it is largely what? App based, not possible to have. It refers, in today's terms, it refers to, generally, refers to app based, technology driven, labor market practices. यही है. Labor market practices where what happens? People are paid for accomplishing micro task. ये खाना ले जाकर वहां पर पहुंचा दो. For accomplishing micro tasks. Yes. You could say that it will include people who are also working in non-platform based, okay, for accomplishment. But the one that is concerning us right now is the one that is not working on a platform. There, the level of exploitation is not as much. With technology, you can suddenly, reach out to so many people, right? So this is something that is, it is an emerging phenomenon, isn't it? ये emerging phenomenon है. कब से popular हुआ ये? Post Zomato, when did it come? उसके पहले Fiverr भी था. They came around 2010 would be the time, around, the second decade of 21st century. उस समय के आसपास से this has become active. $5 you get any Photoshop copy made, any poster made. Fiverr was there. A lot of other services, microservices were there. Very, very low price. You can build something, isn't it? है ना? So there is, accomplished micro tasks, and there is no wage payment as such. वेतनमान नहीं मिलेगा. There is no wage payment. What are some ethical concerns? Yes, the primary ethical concern. Are we going fast? Are we going slow? So it gives, there is no job security. No job security in name of, किस नाम से? In name of job freedom. वो बंदा कह रहा है मैं पूरे अपने जॉब में फ्री हूं, अब मैं किसी का नौकर नहीं हूं. 5 साल के बाद when he ages तो रियलाइज होता है कि यार नौकरी वोकरी ठीक रहता थोड़ा, right? Continuously you have to run from one place to another if you have to keep earning wages, isn't it? है ना? So job security in the name of freedom to work or not work. Then it also bypasses minimum wages. The government also bypasses minimum wages or not? Which scheme? Manrega. One of the criticism of Manrega is that minimum wages are not paid in Manrega. Supreme Court said that why government is not paying minimum wages in Manrega. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who generally does not speak, he said that Manrega is of nature of social security and is not wage employment. He had hardly spoken 10 things. This was one of the things that he clarified before the Supreme Court of India. उनका statement आया था उस समय when this case was raised, है ना? Criticism of, है ना? Government also sometimes does not, but private sector anyway. So it bypasses wage employment, है ना? Then, है ना? Regular workers. Problem is regular workers are classified as independent contractor. There is absence of social security, absence of insurance. Then there is, because these are independent workers, so they do not have no power of collective bargaining. No power of collecting bargaining. है ना? What are the ethical concerns? Humans are at the mercy of whom? Algorithm. 2-3 बार राइड कैंसिल कर दी तुमने क्योंकि तबीयत खराब है, अब algorithm will penalize you. You will not get a ride. Of course, it benefits the consumer. Businesses have to balance both consumer rights and workers' rights. If a business is only balancing consumer rights, then it will not respect workers' rights. If the business is only working for the welfare of the workers' rights, then it will not be able to balance the consumer rights. Is this clear? Think of it, an Ola driver is not well, he cancels 2-3 rides. He wants to start a ride, but he's not well. Now what will algorithm do? It will not grant him any ride. It won't appear on his dashboard. Human is at the mercy of algorithm. Which is also sometimes there is the unethical ethical concern with respect to power asymmetry between platform and between whom? The platform and the worker. Then there is the problem of hidden charges. Undisclosed charges. These charges are based on ratings. Right? Ratings, review, late delivery, etc. Then there is a problem of often data privacy plus digital surveillance. These are all so that you can happily get a parcel delivered. Data privacy of whom? The gig worker, and digital surveillance of the worker. Of course, people are being pushed into gig work because there is no formal employment. That is the problem. And when you do not have formal, they will do the delivery and after that they will be watching reels. Sometimes you will see in cities such as Gurgaon, outside big offices where there are too many deliveries about to happen. Hundreds of bike riding Zomato workers and other workers will be there, all being caught on the phone, watching reel until a next order comes. Do you see, after a few years, they have not acquired any skills. And now they are old and cannot drive bike for 500, 800 kilometers every day to deliver orders. Do you see a big problem? Right? So, and plus, what does the algorithm, just to keep you consumers happy, what does the app do? It continuously tracks the driver कर क्या रहा है ये, है ना? They will also have access to all the information कि ये reel देख रहा है या order लेने जा रहा है नहीं. The minute he is ordered, he started driving or not. Of course, it is needed so that you can get your 10-minute delivery. Quick commerce, as we call it, है ना? So he is continuously tracking कि ये reel देख रहा है ज़्यादा. And after a notification came, he simply did not start driving within the next 30 seconds. Then you will deprioritize such gig workers. है ना? So what happens? This creates, है ना? This leads to what is known as, it feeds into what? What is known as surveillance capitalism. Surveillance Capitalism is a book, I think, by Shoshana Zuboff. You can check it. Surveillance, this is what is known as surveillance capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. All right. Then, of course, can be the ethical concerns with respect to biases built into the system. If there are both in the platform, there are men and women, certain biases will come. That women, some tasks women may be good at and they may be allocated. Some tasks women may not be able to do well. And also all those biases, regional bias, caste bias, race bias will get. All right, then very briefly, let us take social media. What are some ethical concerns with social media? Now, before we begin, can you just tell me a definition of it? How will you frame the definition? What is social media? Huh? Mhm. No, you will write the positive things also. So positive things is that it has, on few things, it has generated employment, and it has given opportunity for a lot of people to join workforce again. Then it has enabled people to work only part-time, given them the independence. This has also enabled women to join the workforce who otherwise have household chores. It has given financial freedom to a lot of people. You can write all the close things, but these are the concerns. ठीक है, दो तीन जो है ना. Now social media, how do you define social media? Try करो. हाँ, what is it? Online is the nature of it, but online is not a noun. Tell me a noun. Platform. Very good. So somebody said it's a platform. Now what is this? So this will be like, let us give an adjective. It can be app based or web based. Very good. What is it? A platform. It refers to app based and web based platforms. And what happens in this platform? Huh? What is the identifying feature of social media? Networking and connecting. Very good. Now I built the first social media for civil services aspirants as ForumIAS. We only had blogs till then. Way back in 2012, I built ForumIAS. We did not have Telegram. So in my interview, when people would come to know that I'm the founder of ForumIAS, where everybody accumulates, है ना, सब लोग वहीं पर result पहले आता था, तो site down हो जाती थी हमेशा, because there was no Telegram. How did people discover the result? So CSM_2023 को उस समय 2011 है, तो इस साल क्या होगा? 2012.pdf होगा. तो लिंक डाल देते थे लोग और उस पर हिट होता रहता था, है ना. 15,000 20,000 concurrent users, right? So what was the difference between, let's say, forumias.com and let's say Mrunal.com, which existed back then also? And Mrunal, only one person writes. Social media is about, yes, it is about, ठीक है, platform that allows user-generated content. User-generated content, which allows user-generated content. What sort of content? It includes text, image, and videos. Very good. See, a major shift in social media came with what? Which was the pivotal point for social media? So, no, when 5G came to UP, then Unacademy folks were very happy that suddenly they had massive expansion. है ना, जब यूपी में स्प्रेड हुआ था 5G, तो उस समय as edtech players they were very excited that we will have a lot of people onboarding. But for social media, what was the pivotal time? Not Geo. See, what happened is earlier when Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook, and before that we had Orkut, and before that we had High Five, very antiquated systems compared to what you see today. You only connected with people you knew. So Mark felt, and today he regrets that, he felt that people will come online and share content with whom? With the people they know. That was the idea of social media. But then something else happened. What happened? TikTok happened. For the very first time, TikTok happened. Right? TikTok changed the whole paradigm of social media. After TikTok things, of course, Instagram happened before that. So for the very first time in Facebook, you only had your friends and people who follow you, and that is all. Mark Zuckerberg says that I did not believe in the power of recommendations. I felt that who would want to know what is happening in Europe or America? You only want to know what is happening in Bua's ghar, right? You only want to know what is happening in friends and family. Who wants to know what is happening in other friends and other families, other countries? But what happens is, है ना, a pivotal shift in social media came when it developed the capacity to recommend content. उसके पहले तक क्या था? Recommendations were not there. It started with Insta, with a bit of YouTube, and with TikTok, it exploded. Suddenly, instead of watching your family relatives videos and pictures and friends' marriage and all, you started watching random people's marriages, Kalesh videos, cat fight, whatever, cute videos, everything people started. So pivot social media, this evolved from a sharing model with connected people to maximizing content sharing and virality. What are some concerns with social media? Structural concerns are there. The first is there is a structural concern. So good things you can write. What are 3 good things about social media? It has led to what? अवेयरनेस. एकदम सबसे जेनरिक टर्म बोल दिया कि भाई मेरा काम खत्म, एग्जामिनर का काम शुरू, की दिमाग लगा कि अवेयरनेस कैसे जनरेट हुआ है. थोड़ा सा राइट क्वालिफाइड सेंटेंसेस. Administrative ethics, any question I will ask, you'll say transparency, accountability. Don't throw words. एकदम सोच, how has it generated? First is social media. What good has it done? It has helped people connect to each other and truly pushed globalization. Without social media, can you have globalization? At very limited globalization will happen. Here, if something is happening in France, immediately it will happen here also. Right? वो AI पर क्या चल रहा था? Ghibli image. Ghibli था. So suddenly the whole world is making Ghibli images. You don't know what is happening. Right? Any movement can become a global movement immediately. Isn't a globalization of Me Too movements, for example, across all countries, right? So therefore, it provided a platform for connecting each other. Then it eliminated monopoly of large media houses over information dissemination. How do you know? Z News देखना पड़ेगा. आज तक you have to watch. With social media, you don't have to log in. पहले ही social media पर आ जाएगा. Right? Eliminated monopoly. है ना? YouTube. What is the logo of YouTube? What does it say? Broadcast yourself. At least that is what it was 10 years back when they started. YouTube said, broadcast yourself. You don't need to have a license of a media house to have a video. You simply broadcast yourself, right? So, no, these are not that. So he asked, sir, kuch fayda bhi hai ya nahi? So these are the benefits. Now coming to the concerns, there is a structural concern in the business model of social media. Why? Inherent concern in business model. Why? Because it treats free users as the product. Why do you use a certain social media? Because your friends are there. Other people are there. It treats free users as the product sold. Second concern is, by design, it promotes viral content without checking either authenticity or utility. कि काम की चीज है भी नहीं. Hindu will not publish it, but on social media you can write any article and publish it. A proper media house will not publish it, but social media, without checking authenticity and utility. So what does it happen? It leads to, for example, it promotes, hate speech. More likely कोई अच्छी बातें कह रहा है. Nobody wants to listen. These youngsters today, I'm not putting you, but maybe your generation or maybe उसके बाद वाले 2010 born, they have made some people social media superstars. Why? The person comes on YouTube, 2-3 अच्छी गालियाँ देता है and बच्चे उसको सुन के बहुत खुश होते हैं, teenagers, है ना, so big problem, ठीक है. So hate speech, abuses sometimes also, sexually explicit content, all these things are, है ना, there will be, or something that is, है ना, abusive or violent, that content is likely to be viral, million views. Another concern that media houses have raised with social media is that it is broadly understood that 90% of news is consumed via social media, but social media refuses to accept content liability. And traditional media की तरह, what is the problem they have? Traditional media, what does it say? It says that social media is refusing to accept content liability, whereas half of the things have spread via, if today also a news item will come to you, you are not likely to visit, and progressively you are less likely to visit a website now. Something will be forwarded and you will click. And social media apps are designed that they will click it in that app only. They will not even allow you to go to the website. They will open a browser in the media house and then, right? So therefore refuse to accept, है ना, accept content liability, and refuse to adopt a code of journalism. The Hindu cannot say that my website anybody can write an article, or even the Times of India or the Indian Express, because they will have a certain code of journalism. They can also argue that I have not written it, though they will have a disclaimer that the views expressed are not of Indian Express but of the author of the article. But still, content liability they have to accept, and they have to abide by a certain code of journalism. But social media, you can write anything and get away with it, है ना? Yet another concern is, and because of this also, ठीक है, while it benefits, what is the problem with this? Not only does not accept, but it benefits from, while it benefits from the content, but does not accept the liability. Benefits from content, but not content liability. So you log on to Telegram to get pirated videos. Telegram will say that I'm not, है ना, it is not my content, anybody can put any video anywhere. But does it not benefit from that content? You are going there because it's available there, isn't it? Then there are the concerns with respect to data leaks and data sharing. Classical case is Cambridge Analytica case. Yes. Facebook's data sharing with Cambridge Analytica. Then there are right to privacy concerns with respect to the amount of data collected. Right to privacy concerns with respect to the amount of data collected without explicit user consent. Right to privacy concerns with respect to data collected without explicit user consent. Right to privacy concerns with respect to data collected without explicit user consent. है ना? Then recently there are some concerns are with respect to what? Mental health concerns. Yes, why? Because they spend millions of dollars. Why are they spent? To make it addictive by design. एक है ना एडिक्टिव बाय डिजाइन. Some good things that you can write. What are some good things? Instagram has started something for teenagers. Tell me just 3 initiatives or 4 initiatives taken by social media companies to address some of these concerns. Huh? Now Instagram has separate accounts for teenagers, taking care of their mental health. Separate account for teenagers where a lot of, for example, erotic content will not be shown. It will be very, है ना? You can also give a suggestion that there is need for content rating. Users can give a content rating and therefore it can be safe. What else? Facebook apology for data leak. Why this was a big thing? Because uske pehle tak there was, Facebook could not be tried in a consumer court. Why? Have you paid Facebook anything apart from the attention? Have you paid Facebook anything when you use it? Yes or no? Then will you be able to file a complaint against it as an aggrieved customer? You are a free user. Do you see your rights are limited? है ना? Your rights are limited that way. What other initiatives are there? Twitter has started, yes, Twitter has started something. Community note, very good. To prevent fake news. All major social media have started, है ना? Fact check. What else? Just 1 or 2 more initiatives if you can think of. Yes. Tools, both YouTube and, है ना? They've started providing tools of controlling usage time. कितनी देर इस्तेमाल कर रहे हो? All the tech companies. Then what happens when you die and your account is hanging out there in the universe? Some initiative has been taken. Huh? Yes, right to be. Very good. And there is a tool also that if something happens to you, then somebody can. Yes. In a limited manner, है ना? Then e-commerce. What are ethical concerns with e-commerce? Some ethical concerns with e-commerce is, what is e-commerce? Can you define it now? You don't remember any example, data, fact, quote, and there is a question on e-commerce across paper 2, 3 or 4. How will you define e-commerce? Can you tell me a noun? What is it? It is a, very good. So you can all say again, app-based or, है ना? चलो, app-based or web-based? Yes, very good. Marketplace. And what does it allow you to do? It allows users to buy and sell, yes, goods without physical interface. Once you write this, you give some example also, even if it is obvious. Don't give some अतरंगी website जो सिर्फ तुम्ही को पता हो. Normal type का कुछ, Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra type. ये नहीं कि myluckysomething.com, ऐसा नहीं देना कुछ. astrotabeez.com कि सर वहाँ से ताबीज खरीदता हूँ एग्जाम के पहले. नहीं करना ये सब. What are some concerns? One is that the first one concern is that they have monopolistic tendencies. Given that, what do they have? They have because they have large bargaining power. Second concern is, हाँ, हाई प्राइस के लिए, ठीक है. So you mean to say that, ठीक है, we'll come to that. So he's saying that sometimes their price will be there and it says limited time. So what do they do? Okay, very good. Now if you have to frame it into an ethical, then you come with some jumla. You say that it exploits. What does it do? Exploits human psychology. Through what? Limited टाइम डील्स. तो तुम्हें लग रहा है कम समय के लिए है, अभी ले लेता हूं, अगले साल यूज करूंगा. You can say the same about even gig economy also. Why gig economy thrives? Somebody will tell why you are using it. तो भैया इसमें तुरंत पेमेंट आ जाती है. If I do a job, it will come at the month end. What does it do? Gig companies, they exploit human psychology of what? Instant gratification. The ride complete हुआ, 270 rupees credited to the driver. This will be not here, but it will be, you can say here also. Inherent human psychology of instant gratification by what? 10-minute delivery, same day delivery, या overnight delivery. मैंने भी आज कुछ ऑर्डर किया है. Why? Because it was saying that it will be delivered सुबह तक. जब तक क्लास खत्म होगी, घर जाकर सोगे, सुबह तक आ जाएगा वो सामान. Right? So what is it doing? It is exploiting inherent human psychology of human need for instant gratification. Right? Both in gig economy, e-commerce, maybe you can give this argument, isn't it? I know. Then there is the problem of so in India, so there is a problem of, how should I say it? So what is happening is that they are supposed to be a platform, but they badly want to be a player. है ना? So for example, Amazon will have what? Cloud tail, है ना? ठीक है? So sometimes, है ना? The ethical concern with being both platform and seller या player, such as Amazon का what is the seller? Cloud tail. Flipkart का very good, खूब शॉपिंग चल रही है. WS रिटेल का है तो, है ना? हाँ, so therefore there is an inherent conflict of interest as a platform versus a seller. So Walmart invested in Flipkart, gave a lot of money, and then Indian government brought e-commerce conduct rules which said that you can either be a platform or a seller, you can't be both. Walmart said, if I knew this, then I would have never purchased Flipkart. It's not easy to do business in India. They can change the rules anytime. Then there is the problem of, है ना? So one thing that they will do is that they distort markets. That they distort markets and manipulate consumers. How? So let us say you want to buy a phone. You go to the shop. है ना? For example, low priced goods but not available. You want to buy a phone, it is costing 20,000. The shopkeeper says, or Chroma says that it is the cheapest you can get. So 20,000 is the best price. Then you quickly go and check on Amazon. Amazon doesn't have supply of that good right now, but he doesn't want you to buy it from anywhere also. So what they will do, 18,000 currently not available. Now तुम चक्कर लगाते रह जाओगे क्रोमा के, लेकिन खरीद नहीं पाओगे. लगेगा कि यार ऑनलाइन में 18,000 में नहीं मिल रहा है, मिल भी रहा है और नहीं भी मिल रहा है. The Chroma person will say it's not possible. है ना? We are selling it with 500 profit margin. It's not possible to sell it for 18,000. है ना? So but you are befooled by Flipkart and Amazon. It will say 18,000 currently not available. है ना, and you say notify me when available, and when it is notified, it is also 20,000 only after 3 days. But if you don't have it, then what should you do? You show it at less price. Do you see it manipulates? Does it manipulate the consumer or not? Yes or no? And does it manipulate the markets or not? एक टेक्निक तो सीख गए कि कैसे करना है, right? Then there is, है ना, theft of intellectual property. What do? You are running Amazon. You allow people to sell goods. Then you find out which goods are selling. So somebody is making very good yoga mats. And he has figured out that market people are selling 6 mm yoga mat. I will be selling 8 mm. Just because of that, it will look premium. So what will Amazon do? It will wait which products are selling. Then it will create what? Amazon Basics bana dega wo. Now people are saying that yoga mat for 8 mm versus Amazon Basics yoga mat, same configuration. People will end up buying because it has the backing and trust of Amazon. Property of small businesses. उसके बाद देखोगे धीरे धीरे जो fastest selling item was there, it has disappeared. And you want to buy a charger. Amazon doesn't know what sort of charger should I make, the one with USB-C type or the older USB. That nobody knows, only the consumer knows. Once they get the data that the best selling new chargers that are selling are only having USB-C ports. So 2 ports they are having only C type. Now it will make Amazon Basics with only 2 C type ports. Work will be done. So you don't have to wait for doing the market research. You piggy bank on the sellers who are figuring it out and creating products like that. Right? Then there is the problem of what is called dark patterns. Deceitful pages to optimize purchase, deceitful page and app design. What are dark patterns? Deceitful, धोखाधड़ी से भरे हुए. Deceitful app and page design to optimize sales. What are some other ethical concerns? Yes. So there is the problem of large carbon footprint. Since they use a lot of plastic in packaging, large carbon footprint because of high paper and plastic consumption in packaging. Then questionable labor practices. Questionable labor practices. Then lack of grievance redressal compared to offline stores. Lack of grievance redressal compared to then poor environmental practices are often greenwashed. Poor environmental practices are often greenwashed. What is greenwashing? Yes, when goods or services are shown to be more eco-friendly than they actually are. Coal India Limited is very famous for this. Coal India Limited, what does it do? What is the core business of Coal India Limited? Find a spot under which there is coal mine, then cut down all the trees that is on that, then dig that place, take out all the material and then find coal. Generally it will do open cast mining only. But when you say Coal India mining, Coal India ka advertisement, it will generally of a forest. Front page, they will take one big advertisement and we are Coal India. We have planted 1 lakh trees, afforestation in some other place in MP. So earlier we used to, few things have changed. So you are aware about compensatory afforestation that is done? So compensatory afforestation was seen to be the answer or the magic bullet to all these mining and deforestation activities. Now new ideas have come in compensatory afforestation. What are the new ideas that have come? No, new ideas have come. One is with respect to how we did compensatory afforestation is something. One is the Miyawaki method. So I see some FRC students. They are saying that at least 40 people out of 90 people will clear prelims. You are saying that? So why? Miyawaki method. So this Miyawaki method simply says, earlier we used to plant when we used to do compensatory afforestation, because I worked in these departments. So क्या होता था, 6 feet per used to plant trees. Now in this method we realize that if we plant them closely, then the trees will communicate with each other and they will know that somebody is near me. And if I don't grow fast and take all the resources from the ground, what will happen? The other tree which is nearby will grow faster and take all the resources, and I'll be dwarfed and stunted. So you bring in competition there, right? Because they are so closely spaced, right? The Japanese scientist who came up with this method. So now when we plant forest, we don't do it like 6 feet and 10 feet. We simply, what we do is we keep them, even if you plant it at 3 feet or just disperse the seeds like that, then also forestation will be successful. In fact, it will be more natural forest. A natural forest is not having trees at every 6 feet, right? It has it anywhere. And that is why trees compete and grow fast. So a question was also there in prelims, Miyawaki method. And then other ideas are also there, that compensatory afforestation is not the solution. Why? Because it does not solve the problem of biodiversity. Whenever Coal India will deforest a place and he will give it to a contractor, what will he do? He will simply plant 5 types of trees. Neem, khajur, है ना, babul लगा दिया if it is Western India, because they do not need water and they will survive. But a real forest will have much more biodiversity. And while the flora can be replicated, the fauna is lost forever. Isn't it? The animal diversity is lost, and it does not take care of micro ecosystem. Yes. All right, some good steps can you think from e-commerce? 2-3 good steps. Zomato, for example, initiative of cutlery not being sent. Yes. Time bound is again at the cost of labor exploitation. Don't be so happy. As civil servants, you're supposed to understand this. Now you're studying for it. Amazon is having Amazon Day, such as single packaging for all items. You can choose your Amazon Day. So all your orders will be delivered on Thursday or Saturday, where all weekly items, Amazon Day, where single packaging is done for all items to reduce packaging and carbon footprint. Then adoption of EV scooters for delivery, adopted by nearly all e-commerce players. Right? Zomato has also come with menstrual leave. Isn't it, all these things? Open box delivery for increasing consumer confidence. Cancelled food items. सारे Zomato के बच्चे बैठे हैं online. Cancelled food orders are sold to others, reducing food wastage. Shifting from plastic to paper packaging. Very good. Yes, fake and paid product reviews. Chalo, let us do one more. Now let us do one key issue: ethics versus morality. At the outset, let me tell you that in a broader sense, ethics, morality, values, principles, etc. will be used interchangeably. Do not do too much of til ka taad and overanalyze the question. Only when you are asked to make a difference, then you will make a difference. Is this clear? So what is ethics and what is morality? See, ethics, as you have studied, ethics is a set of, yes, not here. It is a set of moral principles. Very good. It is, what is ethics? Ethics is what is called societal morality. Ethics is societal morality. Ethics is societal morality. It is moral principles widely accepted by social groups. Moral principles that are widely accepted by social groups. Ethics in relation to morality. Ethics is externally imposed. Ethics is externally imposed, when morals of an individual, ethics is externally imposed, comma, when morals of individual are accepted by larger groups, it becomes ethics. When morals of individuals are accepted by larger groups, है ना, it becomes ethics. Raja Ram Mohan Roy talked about sati abolition, right? Nobody agreed to him back then. Don't think of it that Raja Ram Mohan was treated as a great man during his times. No, that was not the case. At that time, he was ostracized. Yes, ladka haath se nikal gaya hai. That was the treatment that he got during his times, right? But do you see that that individual morality, when is accepted by larger groups, ki ha, he is saying something right, and then wider society accepts it, then what happens? Earlier, hai na, that individual morality becomes societal ethics. Today, some people in our society feel that gender is non-binary and it exists along a continuum. Then slowly this is getting ground. Even former Chief Justice of India, Justice Chandrachud, said that gender is not binary but it exists along a continuum. So now this idea is when this individual morality notions will be accepted by larger society, then what will happen? It will be so ethically acceptable, right? Here right now, some people may agree and some people may not agree, isn't it? Ethics is societal morality. It is also called public morality. Ethics is sometimes or comparatively possible to codify. It is sometimes possible to codify. What do I mean by codify? I simply mean write down. And write down 1, 2, 3, 4. This is codification. Sometimes possible to codify. Such as, for example, media ethics, medical ethics, ethics has to do with what is called, ethics has to do with the conduct of the person. Ethics has to do with conduct of the person. Ethics concerns public life. Ethics concerns the public life. And what is morality? It is individual notion of right and wrong. It is individual notion of right and wrong. Individual notion of right and wrong. Morality is not imposed from outside. Morality, what happens? Morality arises from, yes, within. Morality arises from within. It is privately held ethics. It is privately held ethics. It is much more difficult to codify morality. Why? Yes, very good. Much more difficult to codify. Why? Because it is subjective, varies from, it is person to person, it will change. Ethics is about, is about conduct of the person, how he is conducting himself in public life. Morality is about the character of the person. His morality reflects character of the person. Ethics concerns the public life. Morality concerns what? Yes, the private life. Ethics will be shaped by, it will also be shaped by profession, workplace. Morality will be shaped by, often it will be shaped by conscience, antaratma. Violation of ethics will lead to what? Social sanction, ostracization, excommunication, समाज से निकाल देना. He was ostracized in the society. समाज में थू थू करते थे उस पर लोग. And here, if you are not able to, if there is a violation of morality in your action, which means then it will lead to guilt. It will lead to crisis of conscience. Is my writing clear? No. अपनी कॉपी दिखाओ तुम पहले. नो कह दिया तेज में. And what happens? What is the nature of? So remember, when we talk about law versus ethics, ethics becomes subjective and law becomes objective. When we talk between compare ethics and morality, morality becomes subjective and law and ethics becomes more objective. These are relative terms. All right. What do I mean when I say subjective versus objective? And I'll say, sir, prelims is objective and mains is subjective. Now, no longer prelims is only objective. Elements of subjectivity is there, right? See, objective and subjective is, you say something is, you know, yes. So if you are this person and this is the world, then something is objective when it exists outside the knower's mind. And something is subjective when it exists, yes, inside the knower's mind. That is why, with respect to objective truths, there will be less, and subjective means as many minds, those many ideas. Now, the color of the wall, what is it? So you will say, sir, it is objectively true. Even if I close my eyes, the color of the wall will be white. And so it is an objective truth. Some people will argue, as in philosophy, they have argued that nothing is objective, everything is in our mind. Any philosophy students here? So Locke, Berkeley, Hume, you will study. So they will argue that nothing is in the outside world, it is all in the mind. So if I change the white light to yellow light, now what will be the color of the wall? Yellow. So philosophers will argue that there is no wall, it is merely a reflection of the wall in our retina, which I am able to know. So धीरे धीरे they will, from skepticism, they will end up in nihilism. Right? कि कुछ भी नहीं है real, सब कुछ दिमाग में है. Right? So anyway. So what happens when ethics and morality, what is the nature of relationships? One is when ethics and morality, when they reinforce each other. When they reinforce each other, what happens? There is individual peace. The good things, social stagnation is a bad thing. And then the individual peace, then it will be harmony in society. समाज में सब कुछ ठीक ठीक चलेगा. And there'll be, we say emotional and mental well-being. Think of it, you believe in equality of men and women, and you're suddenly going to a rural area where women are not sent to school, they are put in a subservient position. Now you go to that place, the societal ethics says there that women are in a subservient position, they need not be given education, they should not have access to the best food. First, the food will be eaten by whom? By the male members of the family, fir bacha kucha women will eat. Right? So this is there. So what will happen there? Will you be at peace there? No. The societal ethics of that place and your individual morality is conflicting, incongruence. All right. So what may happen is, it may reinforce, it may counter. ठीक है. पहले reinforcement का देखते हैं क्या होता है. When it reinforces, What can be the negative things that may happen when it reinforces? When it reinforces, there is the problem of, there is what is called the culture of conformity. मतलब सब कुछ सही है तो सब सुनो. There is no spirit of inquiry. It leads to, it is against change, and therefore leads to what is called social stagnation. समाज वैसा का वैसा है. Society becomes inward looking. Social stagnation. Society becomes what? Inward looking. In India, largely, have we been a revolutionary society or we have a conformist society? We have largely been a conformist. I mean, since childhood, that's in our DNA. Parents have told us कि ज़्यादा सवाल नहीं पूछो. It has its own benefits and it has its own negatives also. Benefits are such that because of this, we have been able to rise to highest positions as CEOs in top companies. The negative is that we have not become inventors and creators. We are able to run Microsoft, we are able to run Google, we are able to run several other companies, but we are not able to create them. We are not able to found them. Isn't it? That's the problem, right? And yes. And what happens when they run counter or they are in conflict with each other? Then what are the bad things that happen? There is disharmony in society. Disharmony and unrest where? Both in individual as well as society. Disharmony and unrest both in individual as well as society. Individual goes through what is called moral distress. Young officers, moral distress when they go to villages, they expect to find Gandhi's India and they end up fighting what? Ambedkar's India. Common problem you will see in every village of India. Whether it is north, the south will give you an illusion of development, but it will be as conservative. You will come to know as a collector what is the problem. By mistake or by an effort, so there was a widow. She was eligible for a job on anukampa or on compassionate grounds because her husband lost life. She was not skilled, so she was told that you cook midday meal scheme. And her husband was a teacher. Now what happens is she cannot be a teacher because she is not educated. So she is told to cook for a midday meal scheme. Now what is happening is parents are telling the children not to eat because she is a widow and she is consumed her husband. So there is upshakun with that. Or sometimes because she is coming from a backward community. Now you having studied so much, when you go to such places, you will have your own sense of moral distress कि ये हो क्यों रहा है. अच्छा समझा ही नहीं पाओगे उनको. मतलब वो तुम्हें उल्टा समझा देंगे. Right? So big problem. So there is often when there is also a sense of disillusionment with society. When student asks what is disillusionment? What is disillusionment? हाँ, कुछ हद तक मोह भंग कह सकते हो. मोह भंग हो गया, ठीक है. But disillusionment is something which, what happens is you strongly believe in something and then you see that belief getting destroyed, then you will be disillusioned. It sometimes happens when you have worked very hard and then you're not getting a result. Then you get disillusioned with the process. Has it happened sometime? कई बार हो जाता है जीवन में कि यार कुछ मतलब I am not able to see a problem with myself. There is definitely a problem with the outside world, right? Sometimes when you see disillusionment with the world will happen when you say कि जो all the good people, hard-working people, they are not getting rewarded, and the ones who are taking shortcuts, they are thriving. Then you will get disillusioned. तुम्हें लगेगा तुमको भी अपना मॉडल चेंज करना है जीवन में कुछ. You also have to follow them. This will happen. Disillusionment. This is the meaning of disillusionment. All right. Then it leads to a disillusioned society, moral distress. There will be the problem of ethical dilemma for the individual. करें तो क्या करें, बोलें तो क्या बोलें, है ना? It may also lead to anarchy. Why it will lead to anarchy? People will, yes, disobey. But what is the good that happens with this conflict? It leads to, first is leads to debate and discussion. चर्चा शुरू हो जाती है. Right? Think of it like Article 370 itself. Right? Seem to be sacrosanct. We heard so many times that JNK is a part of our country only because of Article 370, right? So many, it's sacrosanct, nobody can repeal it, nobody can remove it. But once the government took a step, we believe today that it was necessary step in the integration of JNK. A lot of people today believe. Good is it leads to debate and discussion, it leads to fresh ideas, new ideas come, which leads to societal progress, which leads to new inventions and discoveries. Huh? Somebody said something? New inventions and discoveries. It leads to social reforms. What should be our final position? This final position and between law and ethics, final position, they will be the same. We'll see it just right now itself. Final position, you can say that, and a creative tension. You can say creative tension must be there between ethics and morality. Creative tension between ethics and morality is necessary for social progress, for civilizational upliftment, right? No reform is possible without a creative conflict and positive tension. No reform is possible without a creative conflict and positive tension. Ethics versus law. Here we have to see the differences between ethics versus law. Then we also have to see, somebody has the handout for the question paper 1. दिखाओ एक बार पे. Ethics versus law, yes. ठीक है. First, what is law? Differences, and we'll also study what is law. What is law? Law is said to be the codified ethics of society. Yes, codified ethics of society. Codified means written down, broken into parts and chapters. Right? Codified or formalized ethics of society. Tuesday को non-veg नहीं खाना. It is a part of your ethical conduct given by your mother, but it is not part of any law. But if you come to residential coaching, we will have a law that Tuesday no non-veg will be cooked. Now that will become, so when it is written down, then it becomes law. Yes. And what is the purpose of this law? The purpose of law is to enforce order in society. Law requires central authority to enforce. Law requires central authority to enforce. And there is punishment for violation. Punishment for violation. Now some people will say, that there is law of karma. The law of karma. What does the law of karma say? Do good deeds and you will have good fruits. Do bad deeds and you will have punishment for it, or you will have bad fruits. Good deeds के अच्छे, है ना? But who will enforce this? No government can enforce this. So this is why you will need to invent God. Right? You will need to invent God. What does God do? He does one thing. He upholds the law of karma. The guy says, I don't see any God. He says, wait till you die. Then you will see God. That fear alone is enough. Hai na? So Yuval Harari famously says that humans are the only species of animals that have one thing in common. They can believe in imagined realities. Hai na? The concept of imagined realities. What is that imagined reality? We all believe in some abstract idea, and because we all believe in it, so it becomes true. For example, somebody says that there is hell and heaven. All of us believe in it. So as long as we live, we fear it. Right? A lot of people become fundamentalists because they are promised some major happiness in Jannat. So they become terrorists also. Right? Religious fundamentalism also happens. So humans are the only species. He says you ask a monkey that will you have one banana here versus 10 in heaven. A monkey will take one banana instead of 10 in heaven. But you can tell a human that you give up one banana and you will have 10 in heaven. He will actually give up that one banana, offer it to the God so that he can have 10 in heaven. We believe in imagined reality, such as God also. Isn't it? So people asked him when Yuval Harari was asked that what is the utility of people? He says in the next few years we will see people be less and less useful. We will not need people. I mean, they will be rendered useless because machines will do all the work. Already machines are doing a lot of work. अब delivery भी machines कुछ साल में करने लगी. Only government regulation is only stopping it. Technology is not the problem. Government regulation is stopping, है ना? Otherwise, drone delivery will start happening. So humans will have little scope of work. मतलब ऐसा क्या ही कर लोगे? डॉक्टर की भी जरूरत नहीं है. You will be working for tech companies, writing algorithms, working with coders to develop AI. You will not be treating patients because the AI doctor will be a better doctor than you, and logically so, isn't it? So humans then will be, they'll be preferring to live in a virtual world. I mean, you will be wearing glasses and you'll be watching whatever, because already you are seeing that large number of people for many hours they are in the real world or virtual world. Virtual world, watching reels, isn't it? Watching reels continuously in the virtual world. But then he also argues that people, because why? In virtual world you have everything on demand. Whatever you want in that virtual world is real world. You have to deal with people around who will not listen to you. They have a mind of their own, right? You go out from here till Rome, you may meet two people who have a mind of their own and your day is gone. You have a flatmate, 5 minutes conversation with him or her, your week is gone. Sometimes it may happen, right? So he says that people will prefer living in a virtual world, but he says that this is not a new phenomenon. People have been living in a virtual world for thousands of years. It's just that till now they used to call it religion, right? You will see in your home also, your mother will be, or one religion, for hours they'll be in the temple, church, mosque, whatever, praying for hours and hours. समझ में नहीं आता है क्या कर रहे हैं. So that's also another, है ना? So Yuval Harari said that's also virtual world. But है ना, it's not new, it's just that God may be replaced by tech. That is all that he argues. All right. Anyway, so there is punishment for violation of law. Now tell me, what is the test of a good law? What is a good law? What is the first criteria of a good law? Last benches. Huh? Bolo Akansha. Changes with time. That is a test of a future test of a good law. What is the basic criteria for a law to be good? So, okay, one view is that Napoleon's view. What did Napoleon say with respect to law? Napoleonic view is that law must be so simple that it should be understood by a peasant or a farmer, and it should be so short or succinct that it should fit in a coat's pocket. Coat ki pocket mein law aa jana chahiye. This is what he said, and he ushered an era of Napoleonic laws. In modern times, we believe that for a law to be good, it has to have one essential criteria. That it must be framed by not a legislative body, but at least a representative body. So if I make rules of this classroom, you will say, sir, these rules are draconian. Why? Because it is framed by you and it is not representative. But if the class frames the rules, some people from the class, is it likely to be better? People are doubtful about that. That's the problem with politics also. 140 crore people, they say we can't make good decisions. Then the constitution say you elect a parliament, they will make good decisions. People are still doubtful. कि तब तो और दिक्कत हो जाएगी. Right? So one is, but representation alone is not a sufficient criteria for good law. One is that I can get people across backgrounds and genders and form a body. They will be representative of the class. They may make a rule for the class. But since they are not elected by the class, they are only accountable to me, isn't it? So they will not be the best lawmakers. They must be. So therefore, second criteria for a good law is it must be made. It must be made in consultation with those affected by it. It must be made in consultation with those affected by it. And third and most, so let us say, for example, in this class, if I make a rule that people who are taller than 5 feet 4 inches, they are so tall, they have less brain supply in the blood, and they should be awarded an extra mark in the test. Right? So how many feel it is unfair? Why would it be unfair? Bolo? Why? The explanation is not logical. But some of you will go by first level assessment that why tall people have less brain supply in the blood. Some medical science will support it that yes, the distance from the heart means reduces the blood flow. So taller people are likely to have less blood. I will justify it. But then what will happen is, as a social science student, you will delve deep into it. Then Akansha will come up with a view here that, sir, you have closely identified and you actually have created a law that discriminates against women because you have seen that no women in this class are taller than 5 feet 4 inches. So this rule that you have made is inherently biased against women. So how will this come out? The minute it is the third condition of a good law, it must be subject to public reason. Public में डाल दोगे तो कमी निकल जाएगी. You can use these 3 criteria to criticize any parliamentary law. You remember the farm laws? Have you heard of something like the farm laws? 3 laws were backed by the parliament. Was it an elected body or not? But then what is the problem? It was not done in consultation with the farmers, which is why the farmers opposed it. And lastly, it was not subject to public reason. Right, which means that there was no public debate and discussion in it. Then there is now if you see laws, then at the apex of laws is the constitution. Constitution is known as supreme law of the land. In conformity to the constitution, you will have what is called law or parliamentary law. When you say law, it refers to all of them, but primarily refers to parliamentary law. And then something known as rules. And then there is regulation. What is constitution? It is the supreme law. It is made by whom? Not by a legislative body, but by a constituent body. संविधान सभा बनाती है उसको. In India, the debate is, does parliament have constituent function or not? It is made by a constituent body or constituent assembly. It's only done once, then you only have amendments. And all law must conform to it. Right? Then why is a law? When we say law, what do we mean by law? Law is basically, it is usually refers, usually, not always, but usually refers to legislation passed by, yes, elected body, such as a parliament or a state legislature. Law generally refers to legislation passed by an elected body. Its purpose is to, what is the purpose? To meet objectives of constitution. Objectives enshrined in constitution. It's what is the purpose of parliamentary law? To meet the objectives, whether it is Banking Regulation Act, this act, that act, है ना? It is generally outcome of state action. You know, law has broad and general guidelines. This is broad and general guidelines. And law is privately declared, or is it public? Law is always public. Then what are rules? Rules, the parliament and elected bodies don't make rules. Yes, rules are outcome of delegated legislation. What do I mean by delegated legislation? See, what happens is that law making is a part of legislature. Legislature cannot make, so for example, the Delhi Legislative Assembly will say that we need peace and stability in Delhi. They will pass a certain law. But to enforce the law, powers will be given to Delhi Police Commissioner, Delhi Municipal Commissioner, etc. And then and they will be making rules. But rules are also broadly law or a part of law. So therefore it is said that the legislature has delegated this function to the executive, and that is why it is known as delegated legislation. It is a law-making power that is given to the executive. So it is an outcome of delegated legislation. Who makes this? It is made by, yes, by executive. What is the purpose? Purpose is to give effect to law. Purpose is to give effect to law. Rules sometimes may be both internal as well as public. Internal rules can be there for an organization, or they can be public. I often ask this question, what is that one amendment act which has amended a fundamental right, a fundamental duty, and DPSP? 86 Constitutional Amendment Act. What did this do? Right to education. Now, right to education came by 86 Constitutional Amendment Act. So right to education will simply say, what does this act say? It fixes the responsibility on the state to provide education of children from 6 to 14 years. Right? It provides it as a matter of right. Now, to give this act by coming into the constitution does not simply mean that everybody will get education. So what will happen is, to give effect to it, you will need rules. So what do? First is the Constitutional Act will be followed by what? Right to Education Act. I think 2008 or 6? 2009. Right to Education Act 2009. What is the purpose? It is to give effect to the constitutional law. And after that, multiple times you will have what? Right to education rules. This will come from the department. For example, last rules have come in Right to Education 2024. Maybe rules आया हुआ है. RT rules 2024. They will be very specific. What are rules? So we've done rules. They are give effect to law. They are more specific than law. Rules are more specific, much more specific and objective. क्लियर कट रहेगा ये. Violation is easy to detect. How about regulation? Regulation is generally created by or made by government agency or a regulatory authority or a regulatory authority. Remember that rules can be made by both government agencies as well as private association and organizations. When government agency will make rule, it will make rule both internal and public. And when associations and organization, they will make rule, they will make for internal, not public. Thinking of it, all India services conduct rules. What does it do? It regulates the conduct of all India service officers. Central services conduct rules. What does it do? It regulates the conduct of central services officers. Right? These rules have been made by government agency. Similarly, some RWA, Resident Welfare Association, you live in Rajendra Nagar, right? There will be a board somewhere. The rules will be made by whom? RWA. कहेंगे 9 बजे के बाद गेट बंद हो जाएगा. Bachelors will not be given and a permission to enter, rent out any property. और फिर लगा रहेगा bachelors in Delhi you will see, especially single women in lot of high-rise societies you see, then they will be written film stars in Bombay sometimes, and then they will say Africans. All these discriminations will be there, right? Made by government agency, regulatory authority, regulatory authority. It is purpose is to, its purpose is again, its purpose is to enforce law. So therefore, sometimes regulation is seen as a tool of, it is called, or you can say it is called as enforcement tool. It is usually done in the fields where there are private service providers, such as in the field of, for example, environment, in the field of health, in the health of education, in the health of, let's say, banking. There will be banking regulation. There will be regulator also. So, for example, schools are there. School fees getting high. What will happen? The department itself will become the regulator. It will say that banking school fee regulation is there, that this cannot be the increase in fees, isn't it? Make a table and write ethics versus law. Yes. थोड़ी सी ठंड ज़्यादा हो रही है. Yes. So between ethics and law, what is ethics? Ethics is the societal notion of right and wrong. Ethics is the societal notion of right and wrong. It evolves through culture and practice tradition. It evolves through culture and practice tradition. Left hand side, you right hand. Ethics uses, it regulates behavior. Ethics regulates behavior of humans and organizations. It regulates behavior of individuals and organizations through moral persuasion. Regulates behavior of individuals and organizations through moral persuasion. Ethics may or may not conform. Ethics may or may not conform, CUNFORM, with formal law. Ethics is unsaid, unwritten law of society. Ethics is unsaid, बोला हुआ नहीं, ethics is the unwritten law of society, not enforceable in court. Unwritten law of society, non enforceable. Violation may be overlooked or punished. Violation may be overlooked or punished by social sanction. Right? On the other hand, law is a legal formal set of rules. Law is a legal formal set of rules. Law is created through deliberative and legislative process. Law is a legal formal set of rules. Created through deliberative and legislative process. It regulates behavior of humans and organizations through coercion. Through coercion, yani force, matlab coercion. Not exactly force, but coercion. Right? It uses authority and power to enforce itself. It uses authority and power to enforce itself. There is element of fear. There is element of fear among individuals and organizations. It is more objective. It is more objective, context independent. More objective, context independent, and applies to all. Context independent. फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कौन है क्या है. Law है तो context independent and applies equally to all. Violation is punishable in a court of law. Violation is punishable in a court of law. Can you think of some examples? How some actions you will not do because of ethics and some actions will not do because of law? Think of it. Online students, give an example of something that is, fair enough. So crossing a red light is a punishable offense. Therefore, that is how it is enforced. What else? Wearing helmet, that is also punishable offense. There is you have no sense of morality in doing that. Yes? Yes, very good. So sometimes, when we give our seat to a old passenger or a pregnant woman, that is completely by our volition. We are not forced by law. Those metro people will say कि सर लिखा रहता है, फोटो बनी रहती है ना, कि बूढ़े के लिए ऐसे के लिए. But yes, that is our ethics, right? So people can do good deeds. What else is some ethical concern that we have? Returning someone's lost wallet. The law does not require you to do it, but still you do it. You do it, right? है ना? अरे and when they will come in conflict, imagine yourself, think of yourself in a situation, think of yourself in a submission that you have been a young SDM and you two friends from this class itself, you've been selected, one as a young SDM, the other is as a young IPS. So you have studied and now you have gotten a high court order that in December you have to clean up some areas which are having a lot of encroachment. Now do you see? You are continuously worried that it's already December 30th, it's going to be very cold. And you have gotten orders from your department that High Court order must be complied by 31st of December and 1st January you have to show up in the court and compliance has to be submitted to the court. Now you are having your own, so what is there following? Now your concern is that in the middle of night in such winter cold, if you displace so many people, it may be likely that people may lose their lives in the Delhi winter cold. They'll be rendered homeless. Now in such a case, what happens here? What is the legally right thing to do? The legal right thing to do is to follow the orders. But what is the ethically right thing to do? To be compassionate, give them time to find themselves a second home. Right? So do you see when your actions can be, there can be some actions which are legally right but ethically questionable. Isn't it? It's the same with the TT example. When a TT lets a poor woman travel on a train without a ticket, while he is legally incorrect, legally punishable, but ethically a right action to do, isn't it? Sometimes, for example, the crime of stealing to feed a family. What sort of crime is that? It is ethically agreeable but legally deplorable, isn't it? So what happens when both law and ethics, what will happen when they will come in conflict? Three things may happen. The first is, when they come in conflict, law may enforce societal morality. Whatever is the society saying, law is simply doing that. So therefore, both individual and society are in harmony. American society is largely a conservative society, right? There was the Roe versus Wade judgment. What did it do? It made abortion illegal again. So everything, you cannot completely say that no sir, this will fall in this criteria. You can say that no sir, societies does not believe like that. But largely we see that a conservative society, as a Christian conservative society, or in our case, what is the new judge? Okay, I'll have to, yes. So this judgment made abortion legal. What is the latest judgment? I'm not able to recall it right now. Anybody? चलो ठीक है, next class इसको देख लेंगे फिर. In Indian case, can somebody give me an example? So remove this. Maintenance of Muslim women. Yes, or after the Shah Banu judgment, ठीक है, the maintenance of Muslim women on divorce act. And this act said that there shall be no maintenance. Right? Maintenance of Muslim women on divorce act, which was pursuant to the Shah Banu judgment. Then sometimes law may cause societal ethics to develop. One example you can give where law enforces societal morality is, you can give this example, which is acceptable, is Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Prevention of cruelty to animals. So people also feel animals should not be dealt with a cruel manner, and law also says the same. Or you can also say ABC rules. What are ABC rules? पढ़ लेना इसको, क्या है? Animal birth control, very good. ठीक है, कह सकते हो कि भाई इस तरह से law may cause societal ethics to develop. Can you think of some laws? All laws you can say at their times. Right from Domestic Violence Act. Yes, sati abolition, domestic violence, prevention of sexual harassment at workplace, age of consent, triple talaq, all these things you can give, or POXO Act also. We can put POXO in the first category also. Society largely believes in that sexual exploitation of children should not happen. So POXO, we can keep it in the first category. And third is, law may run counter to ethics. What will happen? There will be the problem of difficulty in enforcement. Why? Because there is no social acceptance. Right? Abhi hi jo decriminalizing homosexuality is there, you may say that it may run counter to societal ethics. Dowry will be in this criteria, Domestic Violence Act, in that criteria, that it may cause societal ethics to develop. So should we break law if it is against ethics? The question that will come is, should we break law if it is against ethics? So there are three positions here. One is pre-independence. You will say, then Gandhi, you read in newspaper that whenever a politician goes to jail, what does he say? Mahatma Gandhi also went to the jail. Then you tell him he went to the jail before independence. Right? In pre-independence, if an individual felt that there is a conflict between law and ethics, what should he do? He should protest. He should also break the law. Why? Because that law was what? Law was an external imposition by an alien power. People were not involved in lawmaking process. People were not involved in lawmaking process. It was fair for Gandhi to break the salt laws and undertake civil disobedience. But in independent India, should you break the law? As a citizen in independent India, if you feel inappropriate, should you break the law? Then you say, no, one should not, as a citizen, we should not break law. Why? Because as citizens, because these laws are made by democratic institutions. And in a democracy, what do we agree to? And in a democracy, we agree to disagree, but still follow the law. In a democracy, we agree to disagree, but still follow the law. Isn't it? However, if we are not, what should we do then? If we are not agreeable to something, we should do what? We should protest. Very good. We should create debate and discussion. We should build public opinion around it. We should public opinion and awareness around the issue, such as LGBT activists, they are already doing it. Isn't it? They try to build public awareness around the issue, debate and discussion, they protest. Isn't it? What else? They should use the freedom of expression guaranteed in the Constitution. See, you have a place, you did not have freedom of expression in a colonial rule. What do you have now? Freedom of expression. This must be used to protest against unjust laws, unjust policies. So freedom of expression must be used. What can you do? By writing letters. To editors in newspaper by writing articles. एक चीज और लिख लो अपने समय में, by creating ध्रुव राठी वीडियोस. वीडियो बना दो कि उसको देखने वाला लगा कि अब तो सरकार गई, 1 मिलियन 2 मिलियन क्रॉस किया जा रहा है ना. इंडिक्टमेंट ऑफ द हाईएस्ट ऑफिसेस. But in democracy you get this right, and we must exercise this. And as ordinary citizens, we must vote around these issues. We must vote around these issues. We must turn these issues into electoral issue. ये मुद्दे अगर चुनाव के मुद्दे बन गए तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगी. All efforts should be made to make these issues into electoral issues. And if needed, what should we do if we disagree? We must also, yes, fight नहीं, contest कर दो. Contest elections. Now tell me, as a civil servant, what will you do? हाँ? Challenging the law, ठीक है, ये भी कह सकते हो. यहां पर एक डाल लो, चैलेंज द लॉ इन जुडिशियरी. कुछ पिटीशन वगैरह डाला है क्या तुमने? लग रहा है कि आरटीआई और पीआईएल दो चीज, एक हाथ में आरटीआई दूसरे में पीआईएल लेके चल रहे हो. एलएलबी के बच्चे हैं ये. चलो, सिविल सर्वेंट व्हाट शुड यू डू? You have your freedom. Should you express? There should be no public expression. There should be no public expression of dissent/disagreement. There should be no public expression of dissent, dissent/disagreement with public policy which one deems unfair. There should be no public expression of dissent/disagreement with a public or policy or a government policy which one deems unfair. This may happen. Yeah, you are in Haryana. Haryana is a prosperous state. We measure distance of income from which state? Finance Commission criteria. Haryana. Some people are thinking, sir, बोल क्या रहे हैं Finance Commission और ये सब. पिछले साल क्वेश्चन आया था. I think मैं करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास ली थी जिसने, उसके अगले ही दिन सुबह सुबह वही क्वेश्चन ही आया था, फाइनेंस कमीशन का क्वेश्चन ये है ना. Somebody attended a class. So what happens is you are in Haryana. The government is saying that you have to do Manrega. Now, Haryana, you are not able to find somebody who is willing to do low-paid manual labor. These are successful in Eastern UP, Bihar, even Odisha, Jharkhand, they will be successful. But Manrega will not be successful in a more prosperous state like Punjab, Haryana. Here you are trying to tell people, so government, when they started Manrega, so Manrega, you are aware, 100 days of wage employment is given to any person who seeks, who cannot get a job. Right? This was brought, and it brought UPA back into power. UPA was able to win a second term in 2009 because of Manrega. It is said it was a master stroke. Hai na? Prime Minister learned from it very well. The problem with left parties or left ideologies that you can only be left, you can never be right. But with other parties, the benefit is you can suddenly turn left. I mean, have a leftist ideology. 10 years later, in 2019, लगा कि मामला गड़बड़ा रहा है. What did the government come up with? PM Kisan. Right? And the Prime Minister gave strict orders कि election के पहले first 2008 crore farmers, एक मिनट में 5 दिन के अंदर 16,000 करोड़ का ट्रांसफर है ना. वेरी चैलेंजिंग टास्क. यू विल बी इन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग दिस. रात भर 3-4 बजे बैठकर काम करना पड़ेगा. ये सब क्यों? सब बैठे रहेंगे, सबकी हालत. चेयरमैन SBI भी बैठे रहेंगे, है ना. तो दैट बिग टास्क. Anyway, so you are in Haryana, you are worried there. You are trying to tell people of Haryana that you register for Manrega. They are saying, yeah, we are having land for labor. Other states will supply the labor. We can't do physical labor. We are having good per capita income. Government has also come up with guideline. So what happened in Eastern India also? The world changed, right? By the time this act came, it believed that there is so much or abject poverty. You understand what is abject poverty? Is hopeless poverty, which means you will have a food problem if you don't. You will die of hunger if you don't work. But the things had started to change because before that you had one more good legislation. What is right to food had come. Okay, so people started getting fed well. Now even in poorer pockets of the country, people were not willing to, it's challenging to do that manual labor. और क्या था, मिट्टी खोदो और मिट्टी भरो, यही काम हो रहा था. आई हैव बीन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग मनरेगा इन सम पार्ट्स इन माई ओन, नो नॉट एज अ मनरेगा वर्कर, दो आई हैव बीन वर्क विद देम. ठीक है सर, वो भी मिट्टी खोदने का भी काम किया सर ने, हाँ वो भी. तो दैट इज व्हेन आई लर्न द डिफरेंस बिटवीन रूल, एक्ट एंड रेगुलेशन. सो आई आस्क्ड माय डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर, जैसे कि आयुष मेक अ प्लान फॉर मनरेगा, है ना, 15-15 दिन काम सबको एलोकेट कर दो. एंड आई टोल्ड माई मैडम दैट मैडम 100 days ऑफ यूपीएससी का पढ़ाई किया, तो मैंने बोला मैडम द एक्ट सेज 100 days ऑफ वेज एम्प्लॉयमेंट, 15 दिन का क्यों? Then she said, Ayush, you are not, don't read the act, you are not an activist, you read the circular which the department has set with the signature. उसमें क्या है कि फिलहाल 15 days का प्लान भेजो, 15 दिन आपसे मिल नहीं रहा, 100 दिन कहाँ से दोगे आप? डिमांड रहेगी तब ना. People are after right to food. The problem was people had enough to eat. So in the sun at 2 p.m. दोपहर में nobody is willing to dig soil or a well. तो क्या हुआ, everywhere whoever any officers क्या करेंगे? अच्छा, another problem is that it is a prime minister scheme, मतलब flagship scheme of the government. Now think of it, in rainy season you can't do manual work because it is raining and some areas are flooded. The poor areas will also be flooded also. You think of Assam, you think of parts of Bengal, Bihar, all these places, they'll be flooded. In winter you have short days, so people will come only late and by 4 p.m. it will be dark. And rural is you can't make people, you can't have a generator and make people work. It's not worth it. You're getting that work done just to pay. So what did the officers do? They hired contractors, Manrega contractors, कि भाई you get this work done. एक तालाब खोदो, you dig that pond, and you show it to me. Now Manrega जो contractor है, just because he has to meet the target, he also started doing one very logical thing. He said कि sir, I will get one JCB, वो तालाब खोद देगा, लेबर को पेमेंट वी विल डू, है ना. इन 1 day इट विल डिग द, जो आप 30 दिन का टारगेट है ना कि लोग कुदाल लेंगे और खोद धीरे धीरे 20 दिन में करेंगे, जेसीबी मशीन हैड कम बाय देन. एंड पीपल आर, एंड सेकंड ही इज ऑल्सो वरीड कि at 2 p.m. somebody gets a heat stroke, then you will be in Times of India front page next day, because it will be national news. It is a flagship scheme of the government. And what will be the title? It will not be some heat stroke kills one man, it will be Manrega worker dies of heat stroke. And then right from the, है ना, जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर है उसको फ़ोन आएगा, जब कभी फ़ोन आता नहीं है दिल्ली से, उसे फ़ोन आएगा कि भाई दिल्ली से क्या करवा दिया, मनरेगा वर्कर की डेथ हो गई, ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर के ऑफिस से फ़ोन आ रहा है. सडनली यू विल बिकम, होल नेशनल मीडिया विल बी देयर, है ना. Yeah, so you will have this Manrega worker, what is atrocious condition, everything will happen. So what is safer for you as an officer? To meet a target. Otherwise every day you will have a meeting, they will scold that why you are not meeting the man days. Lower staff will say man days, bandage की, you will say man in 2 days is equal to man days. तो वो सब करना. So in Haryana, I was speaking to one IAS officer, he said बड़ा परेशान हूँ. He said why? He says I have to go and tell people that you do Manrega work in Haryana, Taus and all, they are having land there more than I am the collector, they are having more property and more income than me. And there I have, because notice has come, one size fits all, you tell people Tau ki Tau, you dig land and take से इसलिए मैं तेरे को खरीद लूँगा अभी, है ना. Haryana was among the earliest states to have land acquisition act was brought, so therefore everybody got rich. And anyway, you had agriculture revolution here. So big problem do you see? This act will not, but then you sometimes you will disagree. As an officer, you know कि भाई ये act लाने का कोई point. हरियाणा में दिल्ली, you are sitting in Chandigarh, you are saying that I am the finance secretary, no need of giving this much money. It is a waste. This money will go to some contractor. He will buy 5 JCB, 1 JCB he will give to the मनरेगा कि भाई कुछ टास्क दिखाकर फोटो खींचकर भेज देना, ताकि नहीं तो रोज मीटिंग में 4 बातें सुनने को मिलेंगी. तो अंत में क्या करोगे, इतना समझाओगे नहीं, सब समझ रहे हैं. बट देयर व्हेन द प्राइम मिनिस्टर सिटिंग इन दिल्ली, ही मेक्स अ प्रॉमिस टू 140 crore people, you have to follow it without understanding so this is the problems in governance you will also face, isn't it? So as your private morality will say कि यार every day CM is saying that there is no money in the state government's coffer to pay salary and pension, and then next day we are giving 500 crore to Manrega instead, salary ही पे कर ले हम लोग, right? You will always have this disagreement, but then you will say कि चलो democratic government has to decide. अब संसद में प्रधानमंत्री ने बोला है तो तुम, अब बजट पास हुआ उसके लिए, तो तुमको उसी में खर्च करना है. And problem in Manrega is that you can't even bring office stationery also expense. मनरेगा में क्या है कि कुदाल वगैरह का खर्चा तुम दिखा सकते हो, क्या कितना, जैसे बहुत सारे फॉर्म्स प्रिंट कराने होते हैं गवर्नमेंट को, तो कितना तुम स्टेपलर का करोगे यार, मनरेगा में स्टेपलर का कहाँ काम है, उधर कुदाल मिट्टी ये सब चीज़ का खर्च होगा, वेरी डिफिकल्ट. एनीवे, सो व्हाट हैपेंस, सिविल सर्वेंट, देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ पब्लिक, एनी एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ, yes, public expression of dissent or disagreement on a government policy. Then second, what should be there? A civil servant must express dissent through what? File notings and dissent note. कि I do not agree to this, है ना? File notings and dissent note, disagreement note. नीचे लिख दिया, in my opinion this should not be done. Rest honorable minister can or honorable secretary can give the order, then we will do it. क्या करेंगे? But अपनी तरफ से ये लिख देना है. Third is, है ना, once policy is decided, once policy or law is decided, है ना, then one more thing is that he must also express disagreement. Another way, express disagreement through wise and professional ministerial advice. Through wise and professional ministerial advice. मंत्री जी को कान में आके बताओ कि ये सब मत करिए अभी, राइट? But should, है ना, once law/policy is framed, the civil servant in official capacity must implement it. Must implement it. And last, you can say that if following government orders becomes, है ना, unbearable, the officer may, yes, seek transfer as a mode of protest, कि मुझे यहाँ नहीं, कुछ और दे दीजिए, ये मुझसे नहीं होगा, और resign from service. And lastly, और एक बार रिजाइन कर दिया तो कुछ करना चाहिए नहीं, कि है ना, कुछ एडटेक वेडटेक ज्वाइन करके कुछ करने लगे, ये सब नहीं, ठीक है? देन द ऑफिसर मस्ट, इफ देर इज एनफ कन्विक्शन, देन वही जो कॉमन मैन करता है वही सब चॉइसेस आ जाएंगे. फिर ही मस्ट क्रिएट पब्लिक ओपिनियन, जनरेट अवेयरनेस, है ना, राइट न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल, वीडियो बनाओ, and may also contest elections after a cooling off period. All right, I think that is all for today. So that is all. Any questions? Anybody? Chalo. We'll meet again on Monday. Today is Friday, no? हाँ, असाइनमेंट सबने किया है? Submission, you can submit it here if you have brought it. Those who have brought it. Anybody has done the assignment? Question number 16, you finish it as an assignment. Question number 16. Tick mark. Question number 16, A and B, and 17. No, question number 16 ही करो. Question number 15 and 16 you finish it. We'll discuss in the next class. All right. All right. Thank you, class. We'll meet on the next one. Result will be coming when? पिछली बार भी ऐसा ही हुआ था, क्लास में रिजल्ट आया था, है ना? So one student was there, he was बहुत दुखी था, सिद्धार्थ नाम है उसका. इस बार उसका देखोगे बहुत खुश है, सर्विस में है वो, एथिक्स क्लास में था। उसके अलावा 3-4 बच्चे और थे। नताशा गोयल वॉज देयर। लास्ट मुझे याद है जब क्लास हुई थी, उसका तो खैर हो गया था, पहली बार हुआ था, शी इज़ वेरी हैप्पी। स्मृति मिश्रा वॉज देयर, उसका भी हुआ था, 4th रैंक आई थी, आप ही की क्लास से थी, आप ही के बैच से थी। तो इन सबके चेहरे बदलने लगे थे जब रिजल्ट आया था, तो मुझे समझ में आ गया कि आज सबको रोने का मौका नहीं दे देना चाहिए थोड़ा, बिकॉज इट्स पेनफुल राइट। इवन इफ योर रिजल्ट इज गुड एंड योर फ्रेंड्स इज नॉट गुड, देन ऑल्सो यू आर गॉन, यू लूज अ की अलाई इन योर प्रिपरेशन, है ना। ठीक है, चलो, आई विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट। ठीक है, चलो, थैंक यू क्लास।